Hello and welcome to another episode of After School Cinema Club. My name is Dylan Meehan. I am the writer out of the group. I am joined by Jose, who is the director, and Vaughn, who is the actor. This is the first time we are doing this introduction. We have not been having some various Wi-Fi and hotel technical difficulties. This is definitely not a different day that we normally do the scheduling on. We are here to talk about a couple of the news, some news of the week, some interesting casting in some Scorsese movies. Quinton Tarantino's got an update on his movie. There's some AI controversy with A24. And we all saw the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Guy Ritchie's newest movie. Guy's been making movies like multiple movies a year for a little while now, so he's pretty busy. But gentlemen, how are we doing?
Feeling good. I'm feeling really, really good. I feel like this week was a nice decline or like step down from the increasing like intensity and anxiety that some of my film watching has induced. And I'll also say, just kind of like in my downtime, and this doesn't have to be a segment, but like I'll just mention it now, whatever. Uh, I go through my library, so I spend a lot of time on the on Reddit. There's a page that tells you when iTunes movies like go on sale for like dirt cheap. So I have a relatively massive digital library that I don't normally like. I'm like, oh, I love that movie. Let me buy it. Let me like own that. So yeah, I spent the outside of seeing the movie of the week, I've been kind of going through my library, mostly just looking at the extras around um, some of my favorite movies, which include like I went back and rewatched the director's commentary of the wedding scene in Crazy Rich Asians, which always, and I can confirm at this point as well. I don't need to have seen the build up to that moment. I just cry at that scene. That scene just makes me so emotional because it's so very beautifully done. Shout out to John M. Chu. You did your damn thing. But yeah, I've been just looking at like DVD extras or like movie extras and really enjoying it. It's definitely well worth the like $5 to $10 I usually spend on each movie.
Shout out to DVD bonus features that used to keep me entertained. You guys remember when the DVDs had games in them, and you have to use the DVD remote to like navigate around?
Yeah.
No.
Wait, what?
So Surfs Up, the Surfs Up DVD had a surfing mini game where you'd go into like the bonus content, and you would play as I don't know his name, but it's the Shia LaBeouf penguin, and it's just like an infinite runner where it's just like you're down the middle and you have to avoid like obstacles going left and right. And like a bunch of kids DVDs had games back then, and so sometimes when I couldn't like boot up the Nintendo or whatever, I boot in a DVD and watch a movie, but then go through and play the games on the DVD bonus features.
I love that. And I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense because I used to be so impressed with games, and then looking back, I'm like, well, I mean, I'm still impressed, but I just noticed how small of a file a game can be.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, yeah, there's plenty of room to throw like a game on here as well as like the movie you wanted to watch. I love that.
hmm Or the Disney Fast Play, and that was like really loud for no reason. Did you guys ever have the Disney DVDs? No.
No,
I
I
had
It
can
was
a
like
lot
confidently
of the
say no.
I had the VHSs. I didn't have a lot of Disney DVDs.
it was like right
For
at the
any
start
young
after.
listeners, so movies used to come on boxes.
With tape, and sometimes your VHS player would eat them up, and you'd have to use a pencil to screw it back together.
There also is a service called Blockbuster, which was like Netflix but in person. And sometimes instead of just like having to hit a button to rewind, you had to actually do the rewind and then like close your eyes or look away because somebody like did not restart the whole movie. A little history lesson there. After school history club.
Hey, but I mean, I've been good. Yeah, took a little break. Went back to my hometown. Saw the Dodgers lose. Unfortunately, when I went, they lost against the Mets. But then
Damn.
Sunday they kicked their ass. Last I checked, it was 10-0.
That
So
was
I'll
the final
take it.
score. Yeah, 10
ten
nothing.
to zero. Let's go. Screw the
Dang.
Mets.
Was that the game that
Fuck New
Otani had
York.
a home run?
Yeah, because the game I went to, he didn't.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, I saw a stat. It was like, oh, he now has more home runs than any other Japanese-born player, And I was like, there's no way that's true. And it was true, which I thought was crazy because he's been in the league for like 5 years.
What's the number?
It's 100. It was 175, which was Hideki Matsui, who's a Yankee player, who's like, that's who I remember being like the power Japanese hitter back when I cared about baseball like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then like I was like, there's no way. And then yeah, no, that was actually totally the way.
Well, there's no better time to care about baseball than right now, and there's no better time to be a Dodger fan than right now. Unless you guys are Orioles fans, in which case I'll take it. Orioles
I was
or Nationals.
So
yeah, you go.
history lesson. Okay, so my grandfather was an Orioles fan, so my experience with baseball is he'd be watching baseball and then he'd fall asleep and baseball will be watching him, and then I would go to change the channel and he would go, "Hey, I was watching that," and then we'd sit and we'd watch the Orioles play because at the time we didn't have a team. But then when I was gonna say the Senators, wow, throwback. When the Nationals, when we got the team, I was, I think a junior in high school, or yeah, I think it was like sophomore, junior year. So like we would like go to games, and it was great. It was like $7 to get to the games. It was like me, and a bunch of friends, and do the whole baseball thing. But that aside, the most I know about baseball is from the Senators as they were in Damn Yankees, the musical. So that's kind of, like, who among us is surprised about that fact? Like, honestly.
I used to be a huge baseball fan. That was like one of the first, like baseball and basketball were
Red
like
Sox?
the first sports. No, so the first ever baseball game I went to was a Red Sox Yankees game. My dad was a huge Red Sox fan. But we went to Fenway Park and the Yankees won like 27-1. It was in like 2000 or something like that. I have like very little memories of it other than just.
Are you
like,
talking about
going
a
to the
record
game.
or the score of the game?
The score of the game. Yeah, it's like one of the worst losses in the history of the Red Sox. Might not exactly be 27, but it was like in the 20s. And my mom would always tell the story of like on the way home, I'd be like, "Why does Dad like this team? They suck." And then ever since then, I was a Yankee fan. So, yeah. And then I like fell out of baseball. Like by the time high school came around, like I totally stopped watching it.
I mean, so one of my first jobs was working for, shout out to Sports Spy if they're around, but they're basically like this company that started off with baseball trading cards, and they basically devised like the trading card stock market before like the big internet boom, and so that's where they got a lot of their money from. Baseball cards kind of fell out of fashion, so they pivoted to sports gear, and so I'm like fresh out of high school, and I'm like, man, fuck baseball. Like I gotta work here. Like this sucks. This game, this sport's boring. It's 9 innings. It takes too long. Yada yada yada. And then something like 2 years ago clicked, and I was like, holy shit, this is fun to watch. If I had to put my money on it, I think it'd probably be the pitch clock and all of the recent changes to the rules of the game. It's just so much faster now, and it's so much more enjoyable. Plus, it helps that we have this generation's Babe Ruth on the Dodgers. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be a Dodger fan. Who isn't? Because I hate the Giants. Fuck the SF Giants.
Dang.
Whoa.
A beautiful stadium, though. Beautiful stadium.
The only other thing I know about baseball, just hi, me again. In college, I was in the show A View from the Bridge, and they were all notorious Brooklyn Dodger fans. So we had like period appropriate like Brooklyn Dodgers like caps and stuff that we wore in different scenes and stuff. And then of course Jackie Robinson, who was number 42, as we all know. And then the tie into the other stuff that I like was super into was Spider-Man, of course. So we know Miles Morales, another Spider-Man, Afro-Latino Spider-Man, from Brooklyn, bitten by a spider who was experiment number 42. So that was like an homage to Jackie Robinson.
I never knew that.
So yeah, I have like tangential information about sports, but I don't really know a lot about actual sports.
That's fine.
I pipe up in other areas of my life.
Well, I guess we'll just get a tradition then, right?
Like movies and news.
All right, that was 10 minutes on baseball. Now what we're going to do here is...
After School Sports Club.
It's gonna be my side project. So the kind of think the biggest news of the week, other than well, I would say casting news of the week, is going to be Martin Scorsese once again teaming up with Leonardo DiCaprio. This time, Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be playing Frank Sinatra in a biopic. Real quick before I give any more information, what are y'all's thoughts?
Did you say biopic or is it biopic?
Probably biopic.
Ooh.
If I misspoke, I misspoke. Yeah.
I've heard it both ways, and I never challenge
Yeah,
either. They
same.
both sound extremely intelligent, so I don't know.
I feel like, I mean, like biopic. Yeah, that sounds probably like
Like that makes
biopic
sense
is
to
like if
me.
you read it. Like if you read it, you're gonna read it as biopic. But when you like say it out loud, it should be like biopic.
And my brain is breaking thinking about how I read things versus how I say them. Is that the same? It should be. I don't know. Anyway,
English is hard. It's okay.
so hard. But yeah, I trust Leonardo DiCaprio to like own that character. I trust Scorsese. I trust the relationship. This feels like exactly right. Like these are two very well equipped individuals. On top of their dynamic with each other, I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to be really good.
I don't know if y'all got a chance to listen to the clip I sent, but I'm gonna start the petition now to cast Seth MacFarlane as Sinatra because man, does that guy have a set of pipes? Uh, I mean, he's known for Family Guy. He's the Family Guy after all, and it sounds like he's kind of digging his own grave at this point with that show. He recently came out and saying he's not going to stop because people are watching it. So hey, get the bag. But if he were to reach into more serious esque roles, I think he'd probably do a better role just for this thing alone. I think when you make a biopic about an actor or an artist or just in general, you really have to embody like what they kind of are or like how they do it. So Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, he sang, and that was honestly really good. But then I think I remember when the Whitney Houston biopic came out, people were like kind of not really on the fence. That were not really on board with that one. Even now, the oh my god, the one that just came
Amy
out,
Winehouse.
Amy Winehouse one, yeah. So there's got to be a certain amount of talent that goes into it. Not to say that Leo isn't talented, but I haven't heard him sing, and so he's got to sing. He's got to sing like Sinatra. Otherwise, if they dub over it with someone else singing, that's you just got to do it right.
Yeah. I think biopics are I had to stall to like think about how to say that word. I think biopics, I'm just gonna alternate. I think biopics are tricky because you got to think about, okay, who's making it, what's the story, like what are we doing? And so from a performance standpoint, I know Leo's gonna bring it. I would want to hear him sing as well. I'm trying to think of I can't think of it now, but I do know that there was a biopic where the artist, the actor, like the artist, their original vocals were what was used the whole time, and
Oh wow.
never what the actor themselves did. So they just kind of
Yeah,
like let the
I
two kind
forget
of be
which one that
distinct.
was too. Yeah,
Um, and I almost want to say, and they're like, please don't hate me for bringing this up because I'm sure she would just love for this to go away forever. But when Zoe Saldana played Nina Simone, I think that might have been one of the
mm.
projects where that happened. But that project had a lot of other issues for other reasons.
I remember we don't need to go on a tangent on that. I remember when you told me about that and like reading into it, and that was wild. Just all of that. We can just leave it.
It's complex.
Yeah, so reading up on it more. So Jennifer Lawrence is going to be playing, I think, Ava Gardner, which is his second wife. The music, just because you talk about that, the music is apparently all owned by Sinatra's daughter. Awkwardly, that is the daughter with the first wife, not the second wife. So the fact that the movie, like, I'm curious how that plays a role. If they maybe don't even then get access to the music, and they might have to like work their way around that. I just trust it because it's Scorsese and Leo, but it seems a little interesting.
Yeah, I mean It would depend. Like, just to get a little personal here, like I have two brothers. We all have different moms, and if I had access to something of our dad's, or like one of them wanted to like do something with it, like I'm like we were the kids in the situation. Um, so yeah, I mean, hope if she's gotten to therapy, I don't see it being an issue. If not, maybe it's gonna be a hurdle.
Does that mean they can't use if she does like put her foot down? Does that mean they can't use like the originals, or can they be covers? Like, how does that work in the legal side of things? No idea.
No, I mean they probably maybe could be covers to an extent, um, but I don't know.
Uh, Well, I would assume too that if you're gonna do a story, you should have gotten permission before you start like rolling things out to the press. Because that'd be a
But
tricky
yeah,
situation to be in.
what you have access to make the story, and then what you have access to like fully realize the story, those are two different tiers. And I could see a world where if she does put her foot down, they just kind of like it's not about the performances as much, it's more about like what's happening behind the scenes. So maybe we, just as he's about to start, we have an instrumental that sounds close to My Way, but and so we get the idea, and then we next thing we know he's like coming off stage, and then okay, like the next scene carries
Damn,
on.
a Frank Sinatra biopic without any Frank Sinatra songs, that'd be crazy.
I'm just down to see Leo. I think Leo is going to kill it in that role.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other kind of major Scorsese news as well is he's going to be doing another Jesus movie as well. And this is actually the movie he's going to be shooting first, it seems. So he's adapting it from a book. I think it's a Japanese book called The Life of Jesus. It's the same author that he adapted his 2016 movie Silence. If you'd seen that with Andrew Garfield and who's Kylo Ren's actor? What's his name? Adam Driver.
Adam Driver.
Yes. And apparently
Big
Andrew
fan,
Garfield's
huh?
going to be starring in the starring in the project as well. So both Miles Teller and Andrew Garfield. People aren't sure if they're going to be playing JC. They're going to be playing one of the disciples. Not a lot is known yet. As the agnostic in the group, I'm going to back out. What do y'all think?
I'm interested to see who's playing who. Like, do we know for sure that it's Garfield playing Jesus?
No, they haven't said anything.
Because it seems like, knowing nothing about any of this, but just knowing, as a practicing Christian, it- I, I'd imagine one of them is going to be John the Baptist and one's going to be JC. And I've been having, since you like shared the news, I've been having a lot of fun like swapping them back and forth. I'm like, okay, which makes the more sense? Like I think because you teed it up, Jose, I'm like trying to look at our like thread. I think you teed it up
Mm.
that like Garfield was going to be Jesus, but I was like, or what if it's Miles Teller? So yeah, I'm interested to see it either way, or just to see how it unfolds. Whether or not I'm actually gonna go see it, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe this is a bit of wokeness coming through, but were people trying to cancel the white Jesus for a minute? Are they trying to say like he's not like this white guy? He's supposed to be Middle Eastern, curly hair, olive skin,
I mean,
and so yeah. But
that's not woke.
Andrew,
Those are objective truths. I'm not objective.
Which
We don't know for
is
certain, but like it was 2,000 years ago. But we know what those people look like, even though I'm half of that.
I don't know. That was my biggest takeaway from all of this. It's just like, okay, you're gonna get a talented director like Scorsese to make a Jesus movie. Like, w- do you have some sort of responsibility to make it quote unquote accurate? Because then, who is this movie for? And especially in this more very divisive political climate we live in, you're gonna upset one or the other at this point. Like, you can't make the Republican Jesus where he's like this 6'6" big buff guy, big white guy, but at the same time, if you make him like some scrawny Middle Eastern dude, you're gonna piss off the target audience, quote unquote. So I'm just excited. I'm curious to see where this is gonna go. I feel like with religion now, it's a bit more of a, again, slippery slope, because you're gonna have to be on one side or the other, unless you just stay as factual as possible, which again means you're casting a Middle Eastern dude, or you're still gonna have to cast either a Middle Eastern dude or someone who looks like the traditional white Jesus, which again, it's gonna, you can't have it both ways, I feel like.
Yeah, I as you're chatting and I'm like thinking about, okay, what would I want to say about all of this? I can like see out of the corner of my eye like my soapbox just like wanting to creep in. And it's like, do it, do it. And I don't think I'm gonna do it. I'll just say, yeah, you've said it all. Really, that it's gonna alienate some base in some form. Um, I can say like we do have the maybe not objective truth, but the evidence of how Jesus is described in the Bible, and that doesn't equate to who we see in the Sistine Chapel. You know what I mean? But I think also there have been many times where I have seen and even heard people kind of make concessions for moments like this. Was like, okay, well, we know he doesn't look like that, but it's about the story of Christ, so people will like still lean in on whichever story or moment around Jesus, and like especially when we think about like Christmas is December 25th, and according to what they say is happening in the Bible at the time of Christ's birth, Jesus is a Pisces. So but we still choose to celebrate December 25th because so many reasons, but it's just like we're honoring this here even if it's not historically accurate. And I think this would likely be a similar thing for Christians, Black Christians and Christians of color, to say we know this isn't what he looks like, but let's lean in on the story.
Maybe this is more of a theological conversation then, because I mean, I grew up Christian for the most part, and then I still consider myself a Christian, not a practicing. I don't go to church on Sundays, um, but I still believe in the faith, and I still believe in the guy. But I mean, like the story itself, like how many times could you really tell it? And maybe this is my invitation for the soapbox, just for my own curiosity, just because I want to know. I just don't want to know more about you, Vaughn, and what your opinions are on this. um but like, if we're bringing it back to, I mean, we usually, when we talk about any movies on this podcast, we're always like, what was the message they were trying to say, or like what was their intentionality behind X, Y, or Z. And so what is Scorsese really going to do with retelling the Jesus story? Because I feel like it's been done before, and there's been good examples and bad examples of what it is, but they're all kind of similar, right? I mean,
Yeah,
how much more
I'd
could you really
say
deviate?
it depends on which slice you take, of like the entirety of Christ's life. Um, what parts do we include? What parables do we exclude? Are we going to talk about the teenage years, which just are missing? Um, like, the rebellious phase, we just don't know what Jesus was up to
Mhm.
during that time.
It's non-canon,
But
non-canon Jesus.
non-canon Jesus, total rebel, like ripped off sleeves of a jean jacket Jesus. Uh, yeah, I think it'll just come down to seeing the compassion, and I think this could be a good time to kind of meet in the middle and maybe like flip the idea of Christ on its head for people who have gone so evangelical and so like diehard, hardcore, like if you're not this, then you're not Christian and you must die, which is like totally Old Testament Bible. And I get that for sure, but that's not how most Jewish people like respond. And that's totally Torah, which is obviously like Old Testament. And that's also the whole point of like why Christ existed in the first place, which is hey, the way we were doing things, that was like a lot. Those floods, a lot. So like the idea that Jesus paid it all, and like it was able to like die for our sins, like the fact that we're all good because of that. Well, what person would it take to be that? Who, like, how does that person navigate? So when people are, and this is, I won't get into any specifics because sponsorship and viewership, but I'll just say there are a lot of stances that really die hard. Let's just call it what it is. Right wing people say about Christ and what Christ would approve of or not approve of, and we have the evidence that the opposite is true. That like, if Christ said God is love and God is accepting, and like all the, we just see stories about Jesus hanging out with the downtrodden and being like hanging out with the outcasts. He wasn't sitting at the cool kids table his whole life. And so it'd be, I'd be interested to see a version of a story of Christ where we do see that person grapple with these really hard hitting uh, ideologies and denouncing them. Like, people's like wanting to like lock kids up in cages, for example, and like and say like it's our right and like they're alien or whatever. And to other people, when all Jesus did in his entire life was hang out with the others. And a lot of the work that we see the disciples do as they gave up their various lives and lifestyles to follow Christ is unlearn a lot of the like the not necessarily the patriarchy, but yeah, actually in a lot of ways the patriarchy too. um so to see Christ dismantle these notions and to not like to recenter the people who have been pushed out to the edge, that's the story I want to see. I don't necessarily need him. I don't need him to be so like kind of spacey or like, how we see the like Christ is just so calm and like peace be with you, and like I don't necessarily need to see that version because we've gotten that. I would like to see a different characterization, but from a story perspective, show me the moments where Christ is actively working with and supporting the downtrodden.
Yeah, looking up on the book that it's going to be adapted from, that seems to be the main focus. It seems
Oh,
that
great.
because he was writing it as a Japanese Christian for a Japanese audience that was mostly not that. So it was kind of a way of how do I find a way to have people understand this? And so apparently he leaned in on that. Yeah.
And Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong. You had time to read the entire book in the amount of time I was on that soapbox, right? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school.
Got it.
CCD, all the fun stuff.
And just to be super clear, that was just me like really ragging on how long I took to say all of that, and not like I'm not trying to be judgy or anything. It was just, that was like a dig on me. Sorry.
Sure, you're fine.
No, I invited it and I appreciated it.
I don't be knowing I have stuff to say, and then I just be saying stuff.
Look, we turned into After School Gospel Club.
More news? Yes.
All right. So the other major news from the week is going to be that Quinton Tarantino's 10th and final movie, The Movie Critic, he's canceled it. He's just completely scrapped it. We didn't know a lot about the movie other than it was going to be casting Brad Pitt as the lead. Quentin Tarantino has kind of put this 10 movie bracket on himself, him saying he can only direct 10 movies, even though he's technically already directed 10 movies. If you count Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 as two separate movies, he says they're one movie, which gives him 9. I've always thought the 10 film rule is really dumb and seems a little self-important, but if you're Quentin Tarantino, I think you're allowed to be a little self-important. So what do y'all think about it?
And see, I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't think I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Tarantino's great, aside from his obsession with dropping an N-bomb.
And feet.
God,
he likes feet.
And the feet. Yeah, we just gotta like sort those two things out, and I'm like, good. But yeah, like it's we were talking about this a little bit before we hit record, but you painted yourself in this corner, and it's a corner of walls you put up, so you could just like knock that down and like we don't care, do more.
Hmm.
And yeah, like technically you should count Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 as one, because he was going to release that all at the same time. So like from its inception, it was meant to be one project, but dog, just make movies, and then when you're done, just say you're done. You don't like it doesn't have to be this whole big grand thing. Like I think about what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and like all the fanfare and people rushing to theaters and like again and again and again to go see it. Like you have a built-in audience. People are going to love to see your stuff. I don't think you need to make this big PR statement around this is the last one, and like I don't think it needs all that. Like everybody's going to be hyped to see your thing because you're Tarantino, not because it's your last Tarantino.
I think maybe he probably feels like his legacy would be tainted as an auteur if he did go beyond the 10 films. Because I mean, yeah, we all have the notion of like, oh, this is a Tarantino movie, and we have an idea of what his style is. But if there's only like a finite amount, I think they can finally release like the Tarantino collection, and it's like just 10 movies in like a box set. And I think I would feel like that's what he kind of wants for himself. Is just this like mysticism around like this guy was around during this particular era, released these 10 films, and then just like fucked off into the distance with his royalties.
Yeah, but like to me, that seems almost kind of weak. Like I think it's cool when you see like Scorsese in his 80s making some of his best movies.
I think he's just more hung up on his legacy. I think that really is my 2 cents on that. I think he's too worried about what he is and what he's like becoming. So if he continues to direct, I think he's afraid of making a bad movie and kind of ruining that legacy. So if anything, I feel like that's why he scrapped it. He was just like too into it, and there's too much pressure on this. And then he was like, you know what, like this is not what's gonna be the bookend to my 10 year or 10 movie legacy. I should just wait to
Yeah,
think of something. I mean, even the fact that it's called the Film Critic or the Movie Critic makes it
yeah,
seem a bit self-referential in a sense.
and just to go back to Dylan's point from earlier, Scorsese's some of his greatest stuff is like the stuff we're getting now that he's in his 80s. I had to look this up. Tarantino one born the day after me, or like just birthday the day after mine, but he's 61, like just turned
Hmm.
61. So there's still plenty of life to live, and I think the thing that really is upsetting me more is that there's a world where he let's say he does it takes him I don't know, let's call it 4 years, let's just give it a clean four, to come up with the concept, film everything, release his 10th and final movie, and he then 5 years from now gets a new idea. Does that idea just die on the vine now because it's not a part
No,
of the first 10?
it's what like I. That's why to me it feels like he wants it to be 10, and then he's gonna be
He's
away
gonna
from
fuck
it, and
off.
that
He's gonna
and
fuck
that
off to the
itch is gonna come
distance.
back. That itch is gonna come
Yeah,
back. It will.
he's gonna
There's
ride his mega yacht. He's gonna ride his mega yacht around the world and just enjoy life after 10 movies.
I don't know if he's got mega yacht money.
Would he not?
I think like I mean
I mean, he's probably got a yacht, right? Maybe not a mega yacht.
And see, now I have to let me just do a net
Look
worth
up how much a
lookup real
yacht
quick.
costs. Call up your
Yachts
bank
well
are
and
because
set
they
up
cheap.
a
well
savings
like the
account
like the
to
mega
buy your
ones,
yacht.
like the crazy ones can be in the hundreds of millions. That's the only like
Like a yacht that can hold other boats is like a different thing. Yeah, I mean his net worth is 120 mil.
He
That,
has a yacht.
that's yacht money.
Yeah.
I'm like literally looking up cheap yachts.
Government auctions, dude. If you can find a yacht that's been seized for some illegal shit, you could probably get a pretty cheap yacht.
Yeah, I'm looking at some small ones for like 100K. It's a drop in the bucket.
Sign up for the after school Patreon where we buy a yacht.
But he doesn't strike me like he doesn't strike me as someone that would want to fuck off. That doesn't seem like him. He seems to
I
love
agree.
movies. He doesn't seem to be someone that would like be totally content to walk away.
I
That's
subscribe to
all.
that.
I was gonna say maybe he'll like open a theater chain or something. If he's into movies, maybe he'll have
I
a
mean, he bought the New
studio.
Beverly.
Yeah, which I think I would be down to do as well in my old age.
When I was in
Just
Santa
have a
Barbara,
theater.
there's no AMC's in Santa Barbara. That's just like this other chain. I forget the name of it, and it was just like it felt like I was walking into like a 2005 movie theater. I'm talking like blinking red, like where it's got the movies listed, like with a little arrow pointing in, and like super super old school. It was weird.
That's cute.
Moving on.
Last bit of news. So, A24, which was at one point, I would say maybe the darlings of the, film Twitter, just very much of the like younger film fans, all of a sudden now has garnered a ton of controversy by using AI posters for Civil War. So if anyone's seen them online, they've got looks like the Sphere in Vegas destroyed. They've got one of a boat in Chicago. I think the Palace of Fine Arts in SF. I think that's what that building is.
Hmm.
And
They
then I think
got
the
they got
other,
one at the Echo Park.
yeah, at Echo Park in LA, and then one in Miami as well. Um, Seemingly, they appear to be AI generated, just because there's some like kind of either clear mistakes or like it's that river in Chicago doesn't split that way. It's just one river and like small little stuff like that. What do y'all think?
It's a shame we reviewed it before seeing these posters. TBH, just to stand in solidarity with the artists.
Yeah.
It's so blatantly AI too. When you really just like you're scrolling through Twitter and you'll be like, oh, that's cool. But then if you just stop and like expand it from just the thumbnail to just expand it, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, AI immediately. There's so many glaringly obvious AI trickery that goes into this that it's frustrating. It's frustrating, truly.
Yeah, I'm just anti AI in all things. um I think if it can be capped to just being like a search or research tool, I'm cool there, but like this, this is somebody's job that now didn't get paid because you did this. Um and yeah,
To
keep the money in the artist's pockets.
to add another benefit to AI, if I can get copyright infringement, if I can get SpongeBob singing a Drake song or Homer Simpson singing like some parody, that's I'm all for it. If I could get Mickey Mouse saying some ridiculous shit, if I can get Donald Trump and Biden and Obama playing Minecraft, that the goofy stuff, I'm all for. But yeah, to Vaughn's point, like you could have paid a couple actors, a photographer, gone on location. You could have paid a little bit to get some of these pictures done. But you cheaped out. You told the computer to do it, which is a huge also environmental concern because AI images are horrible. AI in general is horrible for the environment.
Really? Do tell.
The amount of, let me see if I can look up the article, but the amount of energy that goes into producing an AI image is like ridiculously high. I think it's on par to like mining like Bitcoin or like mining any sort of like crypto, because the whole blockchain stuff is also incredibly detrimental to the environment, just having everything permanently online. Let me see if I can find the article. Dylan, what do you think while
Oh
I'm typing here?
gosh. Wait, no. Oh no, Dylan.
What?
So I of course remembered that this like was brought up because the thread, and then I went to go like I only saw the one poster, so I was, oh, let me look at the others, and then I went and like was looking at that, and then I just went back to my messages and see your thoughts in invisible ink there.
Well,
So
so I'll share and real quick, because I'm actually like the articles I'm finding, not and this isn't I'm not the articles I'm finding is that it's actually much less of an impact on the environment than a human. I'm not here to say that that is or isn't true, but just from nature.com. That's what they are saying in a study that they did. I'm
that's run
not
by
here.
AI computers, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm not here clamoring for AI art to take over. I'm not here clamoring that there are no dangers associated with AI. I think as the writer out of the group, ironically, I think I am the one that is most in danger of being replaced by AI. However, these were social media posters that came out like a week or two after the movie came out. And for me, I thought they looked cool. I'm not here saying they shouldn't have used artists. I'm not here saying, hey, artists should have no, like, no movie making. But like, look at I'm gonna be honest, movie posters now already look like they are made by AI because they're all the fucking same, and they all take the headshots of the actors and they place them all around and then put the name of the movie. It's like really boring. And so I would love to see people try something different from any of the more modern movies.
Yeah.
But like these were powerful for me. Like the first one that I saw was the one of the Sphere in Vegas, and I was like, holy shit. So
I bet you look so dumb right now. You're telling me this is AI generated?
I have no idea. Maybe it could be or it couldn't be, but like I'm like
this poster's raw as fuck, dude. This is art.
For people who are only listening to this, Jose's pulled up a poster of the Godzilla X Kong poster.
And like, yeah, okay. Do you want me to like share like what Dune looks like? Because like Dune is just going to be a bunch of the actors' faces on it. That's what most movies are. That's what all the Avengers
actually
movies
have a
are.
Dune. I have a Dune poster too. That's in my car. I forgot to take it out of the movie when I saw it. But the Dune poster that I got is the sandworm, like just up out and about, and then Zendaya and Timothy at the bottom, and it says Dune 2.
Yeah, that's like but that's not the main poster. Like when if you were to like buy it,
right,
is going to be like all of the actors' faces because that's what all movie posters are. So that's all. Like I think it looks cool. It conveys a message. It is not the main poster. It did not even come out before the movie came out. It came out 2 weeks after the fact. Like, and part of it too is like I understand concerns with AI. I understand concerns of having some CEO just cut people just cut a huge portion of the workforce and replace it with AI. All of that stuff is real. I don't know what the hell is going on in my house right now. My house is shaking like fucking crazy.
You pissed off Jesus. You pissed off the artist, dude. You're just
I guess
off.
yeah.
And you're gonna piss off. You're gonna piss off the Swifties in the next segment.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, that's coming. Like AI is not going away. It's not like it's not going away, and so I think it has a place. People are still going to use AI to some extent. Like this isn't going to be like 10, 20, 30 years from now. It's just going to be a tool that we use. But so where we work, interacting with a guy who is an executive of a major AI tech company, not on the business side, on the tech side. It was just coming up in conversation. He was asking, hey, how do I feel about AI? I told him how much I really didn't like it. And he was kind of giggling and laughing. And it wasn't in a way of like, that I was like dumb or anything. He was like, there's a huge misunderstanding about this tech. This tech is not going to replace you. It's going to be a tool that you use. And he was like, make sure that you learn how it works. Make sure that you learn like the metrics behind it. He's like, I'm not talking about coding, but like data, like being a data analyst and things like that. That's how you don't get left behind 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I like really, really remember that conversation. And it like really changed how I feel about a lot of this stuff. That doesn't mean I don't think people use it poorly. That doesn't mean I don't think it has no dangers either. But that's all. I think these posters look cool. And I think the backlash is a little overblown.
I'll say this about AI in general, because I disagree. You aren't the most affected by this. I'm already kind of like quietly fighting some battles or just like letting companies fight battles for me. Where as I'm like just I say I'm an actor. I go by storyteller as well, but I've done I think about a dozen audiobooks. So there are, if I multiply the average page number, there may be 10,000 pages worth of text of me saying things and that could all be like spit into an algorithm. And like to kind of go back to your point, Jose, about like, oh, like to hear SpongeBob sing like an R&B song or Homer, do whatever thing. Like, no, Tom Kenny is not going to hurt missing like, the 47 cents from the streams from that. But somebody like me, who now that like algorithm can be used to like have an entire book read by me, but I didn't actually read it, and now I don't make any of that money. It's those are the applications and implications that bother me a lot. Like it's always pay the actor, it's always pay the artist over here. Um and I get what you're saying about like the guy you met. I think there's more at play. And I'm like, obviously I like to be informed. Um I can admit, like, I just to like try it out, I went into like a chat GPT thing, and I was like, build what's the best, I like was asking questions, and I asked it to build out like a D&D character, just be like, I'm gonna give you like some general things with like a lot of like scope and see what you come up with. And it was like that was interesting and fun, and like that sort of application. Yeah, like if I'm playing D&D and I need you to come up with, you know fill this town up with 15 people who are interesting and have side stories. Yeah, that kind of work is fun, but when it comes to artists and the money they make, that's where I'm like, we got to be careful.
Yeah, and I think the problem with it now is that these executives are just jumping onto the promise of what AI is going to bring. Because yeah, Dylan, if the guy's saying that the AI is not going to replace you, well, a lot of the was it like a lot of the Eurogamer cast got cut because of AI, because they just started writing AI articles, or a lot of the BuzzFeed guys just got axed because they're writing AI articles. So yeah, maybe when you were talking to this guy, they weren't thinking about that, but now that it was working for like that 2, 3, 4 month window where it was like pretty good, the executives already made the decisions like, all right, cool, this is it, like, goodbye, we're now keeping all of the money that we would have spent on you and using it to line my pockets while I make a computer write all my articles. I think that's the biggest point now, um, because we're now unfortunately heading into sort of a dead internet kind of phase where, because everything is, well, I guess unfortunately but also fortunately, because a lot of these this newer content is AI generated, and the AI is scraping internet content to feed its data, it's getting its own content fed back into it, which just ruins AI, which is great, because fuck it.
Well, that's why, because
Well,
like for me, like I think if a website's going to rely on that, if a website's going to rely on AI content, like it seems like a short term win. It's like, congrats, you don't have to pay
Hmm.
your writers. The quality of the work is going to go down to shit, and now people are going to respect your publication a hell of a lot less. So if they want to take that short term gain to make a little bit of profits, and we're in like the peak of like late term capitalism, then sure, go for it. I just don't think in the long run that it's going to be that, and that's just how like I don't think of doomsday scenarios. The vast majority of times, doomsday scenarios are not real, and I think that's kind of important to hold back on that. And then when it's like, no, this is something that is legitimately very bad, because if like it just because hey, there's concerns about something, there's differences of like hey, there's concerns about something, and these are the negatives of it, and then like this is completely destroying something. And so, and I understand all of those like this isn't me to say like, hey, why does everyone care about AI? Not that at all. But like, there is someone that Vaughn and I know who is in the entertainment industry. Vaughn, you'll probably realize who this is while I'm talking about it. But they are like a comedy writer, and they were showing me some chat GPT stuff that they would never talk about. But they were like, oh, hey, yeah, like they were showing me just things that they were doing, not to use it as their work, but it was just a way to like test out material. and it was like, yeah, this stuff's cool. It's just like it helps him like kind of like that helps them in their creative process just kind of be, to just be better and to fire off ideas. Like it has some purposes. And yeah, I do think some CEOs of probably what are going to be failing companies are going to take advantage of it. And then in a few years when their company is not worth as much, awesome.
They'll leave it to burn. David Zaslav. He's gonna go burn Universal to the ground.
Warner Brothers, but yeah, I get you.
Oh right, what did I say? Universal.
Universal.
Oh, cut it out. I love Universal. Cut it out.
I get it. You were going up the 101. You took a turn, and you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You should have just kept going straight. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Who hasn't been there before?
Driving up the 101, paying your respects to the Minion on the 101. Shout out to the Minion.
Is that like a thing? Is that like a ritual that I've been missing?
Seen them? Yeah, dude. You gotta.
Yeah, I've seen the Minion, but I didn't know. Am I supposed to be like?
Yeah, you gotta pay your respects, dude.
It's like the Jeep Wave.
Yeah. To the Minion. He's guarding over the valley. When I go home, I usually take the 5 to the 405 to the 10. And this recent time, I did take the 101.
That was the most LA sentence ever. And I kind of love that after all my time here, I got exactly what you were saying. But I know 10 years ago, Vaughn would have been like, you did what?
I took the green line to the silver, and then I had to take the red to get up to Bethesda. No.
My God. So yeah, you said 405 to the 5 to the 405 to the 10.
That's how I usually go, but
I
had to pay my respects to the Minion, and so I took the 5 down to Highland, and I just took Highland all the way down.
You didn't take the 5 to the 170 to the 101?
Yeah, that's what I meant. My bad. The 170 to the yeah.
Oh God! Now I'm the thing. Oh God! Are we about to talk about this movie?
Down Highland.
Talk about the movie, or we talk about Taylor Swift? Do y'all want to talk about Tortured Poets, or do you just want to talk about the movie?
Oh, I never got around to listening to Tortured Poets, and I'm just in a more mature space in my fandom, in that I can say it didn't seem like it was for me, so I didn't really tap in at all. I think the last album I gave it a once over, kind of passively in the background while I was doing other stuff. I saw Post Malone is getting another bag. Good for him. Yeah. And I'll also say this. I will admit to the most toxic part of my fandom in this moment with this new album is when I saw that it came out, I went to listen to Cowboy Carter again.
Jose, what'd you think as the Swiftie in the group?
Hey, Swiftie. I've said it once, to say it again. Swiftie is their word. I'm just a Taylor Swift fan. I'm not into the. No.
Okay.
I'm not into the secret society. I'm not into the Easter eggs and the lore and following her jet plane all over the world. I'm not into all that. No. I just like the music. First playthrough, not that good. Second playthrough, it's pretty all right. It's pretty all right. What can I say? It's not my favorite. I still think there are other albums in her discography that are better. She calls this the anthology. It's just a bunch of songs that I guess she just had in her back pocket that just kind of been released. And it really does play that way. I think I liked it better when I played it on shuffle the second time through, just because there doesn't necessarily need to be a continuous narrative throughout. Because if you listen to it straight, it's just kind of meh. But if you play it on shuffle, it's just hit after hit after hit, and you don't realize that it's hit after hit after hit until you're like, oh shit, I'm an hour and a half into it. All of these songs have been pretty good as their own songs, not necessarily as an album together.
Question.
But I liked it.
What would you say is the album to go to for a non-fan? And I'm not a hater anymore. I can admit that. But if there was an album you were like, this is the one that's gonna make her make sense.
That's tough because again, I don't want to be the ambassador for the Swifties, But
That is exactly what you are. in
But
this
you're
moment.
our
I'm so sorry.
you're our ambassador to the Swifties.
I think I realized why I'm a fan of her music, and it's because she's been around for a long time. You know, her concert was called like the Eras Tour, and it really is like eras because it expands so long in terms of like how many years she's been around, and so a lot of her music is culturally relevant to the area, and she would say the time of her in her life that she's in. And so depending on what is most nostalgic to you, I feel like might be the one that you connect to. So me personally, I really vibe with Red, and even Taylor's version of Red. I think that album is the best it's ever been, and I think like on the metrics wise, that'll align with me. But that's because I think that was when I was in like middle school, high school, when I was getting more into my own sort of likes and dislikes with music, and so a lot of the Red songs kind of connect to me. But then I also really like Reputation because that was like the first album that I really listened to, being like, oh no, this is like, I'm a fan. I'm gonna wait for this album to come out. Like, let me listen to it through. And so Reputation has that spot for me. But then some people might be like OG Taylor Swift, or like some people might be like 1989. Some people might be Midnights. Like, it really just depends on if you know the majority of her songs in a particular area in your life and you just listen to that album, you'll be like, okay, that makes sense to me. And then you can sort of branch out and see where a lot of that DNA is still around, because a lot of her newer stuff is still somewhat reminiscent to her older stuff, but at the same time, it's bubblegum pop. Like, it's not really deep. But the Swifties are going to say that it is. But hey, I'm not a Swiftie. That's their word. I'm not going to take their word.
There was I think the top letterbox review of Joker, which I don't agree with, but is very funny. It goes, if you've never been in an ocean, a swimming pool seems very deep.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like the most damn it. Yeah, which like, and I like Joker, but I thought it's that is like an ultimate, just like scorched earth, you know,
Yeah.
destruction of something.
And hey, Swifties are going to say that all of her songs have meanings. Some of them do, some of them don't. I'm just saying.
Hey, look, sometimes we wish that we could be in the 1830s, but with no racists. And I get it.
Dude, cowboys? I would like to be a cowboy. I think that'd be cool. That's why people love Red Dead 2. You play as a cowboy, and you're not a racist, and you actually go kill the racists. You know. Spoilers for Red Dead 2.
Thanks.
Yeah, that takes place 70 years after that, but yeah, I get you.
Ooh.
Is that in the no? Is it?
Yeah, Red Dead 2 takes place in like 1899 or 1901, and then Red Dead Redemption is like 1910.
Not to like run his resume, but Dylan worked at a GameStop. I trust him on this one.
That was not your place to out me on a public platform.
1899.
I understand. I apologize.
All right, I take it back. I take it back. Hey, but the Cowboys. Who doesn't like the Cowboys? Not the Dallas Cowboys. Fuck the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, like my face immediately. If there's one thing I do know about sports, fuck the Cowboys. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna try to keep it brief. I can't promise anything because that soapbox, as I see it again, just out of the side of my eye. I don't think it's right or fair that we're doing this now, and we didn't do this for Cowboy Carter when that dropped a couple weeks back.
Fair.
Hey, I brought it up in the group chat. If we want to have a conversation, I listened to Cowboy. I had a 6-hour drive to get back home. I listened to both a lot, so I have opinions on both.
I will gladly talk about Cowboy Carter.
It was the better album. How about that?
This album.
It was the better album. If we're talking tortured poets, Cowboy Carter was the better album.
I'm really big on, if people like it, let them like it, and I'm here. If you like this album, go for it. Not for me. Not even
Cowboy Carter. Not for you.
No, Tortured Poets. I have not listened to Cowboy Carter. I have not listened to Cowboy Carter. I'm sure I will like it.
Get him, Ron. Get him. Get him.
But from the little that I have listened to of this 32-song album, not my thing, even remotely. much less than even some of the other Taylor Swift stuff that I can understand from a catchiness standpoint. If you like it, I'm happy for you. Enjoy it. I'm cool.
I'm sorry, she's not a white man, Dylan.
Whoa! What?
That's the reason why. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Nailed it.
I guess, I mean, I'm sorry I don't like the Chainsmokers, 2 white dudes that play 3 chords and that's it too. But I guess, you know, hey.
I like those
They're better
songs
live.
of hers.
They're better live.
They're better live. Oh my
They're
god.
better live. Yes.
Yeah, when they hit fucking play on the computer, I bet.
Did I miss something? I feel like they
hate pop
specifically
music.
owe you money.
I think the Chainsmokers music is an abomination.
Oh.
They're
an actual
EDM
abomination.
artists. They're better live. They're better live. It's a better show live.
Yeah, when you have to rely on like screens and lasers and like other shit, then that's a problem.
Well, I think it's just like there's the energy in the space as well between you and the artist you appreciate. Like there's something to it. I'm my Paula is coming out in this moment as well.
You saying EDM artists aren't real artists?
That's not what I said. I like Daft Punk. I like Justice. I watched Justice's Coachella set. I really dig Justice. Not every EDM artist, and if people like EDM, that's cool. It's not for me. I prefer music with instruments if I really want to get toxic.
Whoa!
There it is. Baited. I
say
you.
that. I mean.
I was gonna say the last 5 minutes has just been Jose trying to bait a very salacious quote from you.
That's what I say if I'm trying to be a dick. That's what I say if I'm trying to be a dick.
No, he's backpedaling. A lot. Get him. He's backpedaling.
No, I mean, like one of my favorite artists is, I mean, 9 Inch Nails and Trent Reznor, and plenty of that is done with, you know, computers and, you know, synths and other shit like that. So I'm my own hypocrite in that. It's just, to me, I think a funny thing to say.
Get them, boys.
Please
I'm
do.
also,
I could very
comments.
calmly take a bunch of people me having a different opinion on their music. So please attack me for not liking your music, because you don't like my music too, and that's okay. Because you're right. Your music's way more popular than my music, and I wish mine was more popular. I'm not someone that likes stuff that's unpopular. I love when Dune gets popular. That's really cool. We just have different tastes.
I'm abstaining, so
no, you got to pick a side. Sorry. This is why we have 3 people on the pod. You know.
Okay, I'll say
if I can give before your closing remarks here, Vaughn. Are you really gonna make Dylan be right again?
So you're already admitting that I'm right, or is that just what you have to just use that as, you know?
I will say that we are all complex individuals, and the same man who can see the value in AI as a tool and yet hate when computers do it for music is allowed. Like that sort of dichotomy is allowed. Like that friction can exist in a person. That's what makes the human experience worthwhile. I get it, and it's okay. Having not listened to Taylor's anthology, honestly, I think this might, all the reasons you were like, may not be the best thing. I think I might be into it if I don't have to a certain narrative to follow, because I don't have as much context. Whereas I think that sort of, because Taylor Swift and I have such different lived experiences, the music has not spoken to me as much. I think the first time I leaned in on Taylor Swift's song, it was because Kendrick Lamar was featured on it. So shout out to Bad Blood, the remix, and shout out to that video, which was really cool. It's here are all my Hollywood friends being badasses. But that is for those same reasons. That's a large part of why Cowboy Carter has been on heavy rotation for me. Because although I do not identify as a Black woman, I have spent my entire life around them, and there are just elements of that experience that we all share, and to see I think those of us in the Beehive, and I do identify as a Beehive member. Those of us in
That's a
the
lot less
Hive.
intimidating than a Swiftie. I'll give it to you.
Well, and what this is also a fandom that I would never dare cross or say anything to. Like, I'm not about to call out any Beehive behavior that I find very, very bad and wrong, but it does exist. No one's as bad as the Barbs, but anyway, um,
Oh,
I
Who are the Barbs?
Nicki Minaj fans, because
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, she had this whole thing about like being a Barbie and like she's like the perfect doll, and so
Barbie.
yeah.
Ah,
mm-hmm.
okay. I get you. I didn't know that her fans were toxic.
Oh God, are you kidding? Like it's terrible. Like
I like super bass.
there was something as recent as like last week I heard about like somebody had said something uh you know critical about Nicki Minaj, and the next thing we know somebody like had like doxed them and like leaked their like personal information, and somebody like literally took a photo at a person's like house. um so it gets bad. But yeah, I will say, there's a lot of research that goes into, and I do believe Beyonce puts that effort and energy into her work. Where like the Cowboy Carter, even though her last name is technically Carter, it's actually a callback to like one of the first cowboys or like one of the first country singers whose last name was Carter. Um, and obviously, like the features are really cool to see, including Post Malone. Um, and the narrative around like reclamation, which is totally what she's going after, uh is really inspiring to me. And just to like make this final point, and I will just leave it there. Taylor Swift, a young white girl who grew up in I believe it was Allentown, Pennsylvania, gets to come out and be a country artist and is accepted much more quickly than Beyonce, who literally grew up, is from Houston, Texas. Dad's from Alabama, mom's from Louisiana. Um, and when you mix that Negro with that Creole, you get a Texas Bama. Uh, is like, and cannot like, people were outraged at her performance with the Chicks at the CMAs when she did Daddy Lessons in, what was that, 2016, and that's literally the reason we have this album now. Like, it was everybody being so critical of her at this point 8 years ago and being like, she's not country and she's not country enough. And she's like, great, then I'll do a whole album and we won't call it country, but I'm gonna like push this to the forefront where you have to face your ugliness up close. And you can't deny it's a great album. I'm sure people will try to dismantle and not call it country, but it has all the elements. And I think she did a lot to help the genre of country, ironically enough, in that it's gotten more people clued into country music, other country artists, because she did have a lot of effort and energy into like making sure she put people on in that way. And I'm excited for what the future holds. I'm
Yeah,
nervous
I mean,
for the
country music
CMAs.
has Keith Urban, who's like Australian, is like one of the biggest country artists. The fuck does
Yep.
that dude know? And like, let's just be
Arguably,
real. Like
Australia
Luke
is a one
Bryan,
big country, dude.
like Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean and shit. Like that's just like pandering. That music is straight fucking pandering.
I'm just like looking up Luke Bryan.
He was like the biggest country star like 10 years ago. I have no idea if he's still big.
No, yeah, no, I've heard his stuff. He's great.
I don't know. I think that shit just like is pandering, super, and like yeah, I don't know. And like with how heavy it's produced now, I don't know. It's just not my thing. Talk about the movie.
Movie.
Well, we're talking about a movie. This is a movie podcast.
Yeah, it's a movie podcast. I know. We're talking a lot about Jesus and pop music, but actually,
It's not a
this is
religion podcast or a sports podcast or even a music
or
podcast.
music podcast. All those coming soon. After School Music Club.
So we are here to talk about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It is a espionage movie directed by Guy Ritchie, stars Henry Cavill, stars Alan Ritchson as like kind of two of the main leads. I just forgot everything. Eliza Gonzalez. She's in Baby Driver. I always remember her in Baby Driver. Other than that, I haven't seen her in anything else. Apparently, she's in a couple other Guy Ritchie movies.
She's also on
Do you want
Hobbs
to
and
jump in?
Shaw.
She's in Hobbs and Shaw, a movie I've never seen. Um, but yeah, it's basically allegedly an adaptation of declassified World War II, files about these soldiers that kind of did something against Nazi Germany. I don't know if you want to talk about spoilers or non-spoilers. I really enjoyed the movie for what it was. What did y'all think?
I enjoyed it as well, quite a bit. So the spoiler element is tricky here because this is like based on stuff that happens, based on stuff that you could like literally look up. So I don't know exactly where the line lies here,
I
but
think we should still approach the story because this isn't like it's not like Dunkirk or something where it's like this is very very well known. I don't like this isn't like as famous of like a real life situation. You know what I mean?
fair. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I also don't know how true to form it was. Uh, like, because whenever people say, "Oh, like based on a true story," it's just like somebody somewhere heard an idea and then kind of like rolled it into something else. Um,
They have the
so
same names, and that's it.
yeah, exactly. Um, it was this actually? Did y'all look into it at all? Was this actually an operation that happened to kind of like sway the tide of World War II, or was it just kind of like, hey, we had a couple ragtag military guys go AWOL for a minute. Let's just call it. Let's just call it something else. You know?
A little bit of research I did afterwards, and it was very, very minimal. Yeah, this was stuff that happened to some degree, anyway.
Yeah, because like the Operation Postmaster will have like its whole own like Wikipedia page, and they even have
Hmm.
stuff like after the movie they were like explaining what like
Right.
awards they won, and that like you know there's a character and a certain name of a character, which is very interesting that then is used as the basis for another thing.
Hmm.
I don't know if y'all caught that.
I mean, it was in the. It was in like the post credits, kind of like uh real, wasn't it? If it's what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah. And I mean, it's and even more so than that, the author of that stuff is a character in the movie.
Oh,
Got it. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
me
like
either.
there's someone yeah. We can talk about that in the spoiler section.
I can say just to give some broad strokes around the film. Um, I found myself. So I'll say this: it was great fun. I had a really good time watching this movie. Um, I kind of wrote, and like it's so funny just from like our last review where Dylan was like with me. Once the credits roll, I sit and then I like just kind of do some rapid fire like quick thoughts so that I have like that to reference. And so some of my quick thoughts were like good fun, low key a turn off your brain movie, because it did feel like you kind of knew who was good, who was bad, and how things were gonna go. Um, Crazy that it's based on a true story, so I thought that was a lot of fun. Uh, the one critique I have is it felt like the stakes were too low.
There
Hmm.
was no tension.
That's the only thing. It's like kind of a big thing, but yeah.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun. I usually watch movies with Hema with my partner, but because I was back home this weekend, I saw it with my brother, who has just like a completely different um just like appreciation for cinema. And yeah, we both kind of like, I asked him first like, hey, what did you think? And he was like, yeah, it was fun. It was just a fun movie to just watch, and it was pretty easy to follow, like to everything you just said, Vaughn. It was just a solid. It did to me feel a little long. It's like a 2 hour movie. I feel like it probably could have been condensed down to 90 minutes, just because, again, if there is no stake, then there really is no like need to drag it out for that long, in my opinion. Um, you kind of get the gist of it from the beginning, and it just kind of starts rolling, and it starts rolling, and starts rolling, and you're just like, okay, cool, now we're here. Okay, now we're here. Now we're doing this. Now we're doing that. Um, I'll leave it at that, just to not get into spoilers. But yeah, solid fun. Not too much to think about. I wish there was more to think about, but I'll leave that for the spoilery section of the movie.
I did want to also just real quick. I think I can. Yeah, I have some non spoiler thoughts around like honestly a lot of the performances, which I think is what this film really like like soars at, is like seeing people just do their damn thing. Um, Alan Richson, who we was also in Fast X, and I know him from just like snippets of like Reacher. So I never watched Reacher, but
Hmm.
best friend Jordan is he watches everything. So I've like seen snippets of it, like as I'm like passing by in the kitchen or whatever, and I'll just like sit with him for a little bit. He was such a great joy to watch for me. I felt the same way about Henry Cavill, and I honestly felt like there was so much charm to his performance, and that obviously lends itself because he's English and he's playing an Englishman, and they're like from a specific time, from the 40s. So like there's, I think, that extra like element to it. But this performance made me feel really sad about Superman and like
Yeah.
how all that played out with Warner Brothers. Uh,
Damn.
Aiza Gonzalez was fantastic as well. I appreciated that. I had to look it up. I couldn't confirm what her character's full ethnicity was, and I remember they mentioned it in the film. But she's playing somebody who's at least a half uh, German Jew, and Aiza Gonzalez is fully Mexican. So when I think about equity and like roles going to, they said, oh, I just want to make sure the most talented uh actor gets the job or whatever. I just loved that she was that pick in that position. Henry Golding, who I didn't, until moments before we started recording, didn't recognize him in the movie at all. That was a lot of fun. And Babs Olusan Mokun, who was
My guy.
also in Dune. He he has such great control, that I like. I've this film made me really think, oh, I need to study this guy. Like I need to like watch more of his stuff because he has such like, yeah, just a measured control about him that I always trusted what he was about to be up to in every scene, because he's just like, he's the guy. Like, again, I don't want to, while we're in the non-spoilers part, I just really enjoyed that. And he just also has the most amazing facial structure ever. Um, I was jealous. But yeah, those are like my quick rapid fire thoughts around the film.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I'll say, it's a B tier version of Inglourious Bastards. That's like the nicest thing that I can say about this movie.
That's pretty good.
That's the nicest thing you can say.
Yeah, I don't mean that in a bad way. Oh, hey, this is like a one step below like a really, 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 really good Quentin Tarantino movie.
Full circle.
Like it's a comedic, like it's oh hey, in this movie we are killing Nazis in the most comedic way possible.
There. I have another. Well, I'll let you go, Jose, because I feel like I'm hogging the mic. Sorry.
No, I mean, if we want to get into spoilers, I can get into it.
And leave it to me as always to be that bridge, that gap. Um, my one of my biggest critiques, because I love a good heist movie. Oh, I could watch a heist movie forever. Um, One of the bigger elements, I think, to what makes um heisting, or even Dylan, at the top, you said this was like an espionage film, which is totally true. But one of the biggest pieces that makes that genre work is you set up a plan, the plan fails to some capacity, and how do you recover from the plan? And that's a part of what I'm like, when I mentioned earlier about the stakes always seem too low, and you said like, no, there was like no tension. Problems were fixed so easily in this movie. Like, they introduce a problem in one scene, and maybe two to cuts later, the problem's resolved. And I wanted to see them think on their feet more and like have to figure some more stuff out. And yeah, it's like, it's got a lot of great action in it. And so we can, shoot our way through the problem, but like where can more of that espionage and more of like the heist elements of how do you adjust can come into play.
I will say that I think y'all both touched on it. All the actors kind of seem to just be having fun. Like Henry Cavill doing just like a goofy accent, and Alan Richardson doing just like a goofy accent, and just like kind of goofing off and having fun on set. And whenever an actor like has an opportunity to do something like that, I think it really just captures a lot of their performance better. Like I think back to Fast X and how Jason Momoa is just having a blast on set,
Yeah,
and
he is.
he's playing a particular character in the film, but he's just rolling with it because he understands that this movie isn't like a make or break kind of movie. He's just here to have fun, and when they have fun, they have fun. It's great. Everybody's just here to have a good time. Yeah. But that being said, it did leave me wanting more. TBH. If we're gonna roll into spoilers for a bit, or maybe just full deep dive. Um, I get the first time we see this team in action, trying to free Apple from the prison. Like that's great and all, and it's goofy and it's fun, but I feel like that wasn't necessarily necessary, especially if either not necessary to the point where I could have more of this or less of it. Because if the entire third act was just nonstop, that sort of like thinking on your feet sort of like execution, then I would have been a bit more in awe of how this team is like, so like how their chemistry just works. But if say in the heist movie um genre, if I see them individually do their own like trick, you know, like if I see Henry Golding, he's the explosives expert. If I see him kind of like tinkering with something, and then Henry Cavill shows up and he's like, "Hey, like we're trying to get a team together. Like, what do you think?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of busy." And then you see him like blow something up. You're like, "Oh, okay, this guy's the explosive guy." Or
Hmm.
I know that they mentioned that he's the explosive guy, but I didn't really see it besides the opening scene. But even then, it was just kind of like, "Here's a big explosion." Like I understand that he set that up, but I didn't see him set it up. I just saw him show up, and then now the ship explodes. Or like when Alan Richardson is like, "Oh, this guy is like a hunter. He has a bow and arrow, and like he has all of these trainings." And we see some of it in the that pre-heist where they free like their mastermind, but there's not a lot extra. Like with every one of these other people in the ensemble of this ensemble film, if I don't get to see their special trait kind of like develop, then I'm not really as invested when something goes wrong. Like, you know, the rookie who's like the apprentice to Henry Cavill, like he gets shot, and it's supposed to be, or I would assume it's supposed to be like this. Oh shoot, his life's on the line because this is a very dangerous mission, but it just feels like, he got shot, he'll be fine. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So give me more or give me less. Like this in between where they were at, I wish it wasn't this.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that I was kind of like to add on top of that was anytime there none of them were at any point in true danger, and that was only sorry none of them at any point in the movie were in true danger, and I knew that was going to be the case, especially then when the prince of whatever this island was, they had him introduce like 15 no name generic soldiers that were going to aid them in this battle, and I was just like, all of you motherfuckers are going to die. And it just like, it's exactly how it played out. Every single one of them, like, and I was just like, God damn, man. And I was just like, it felt super obvious in the moment. and then it was super obvious like as it carried out, and I was just like, cool, just like plot armor completely. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. Because I literally had that thought while watching. I was like, that frustrated me the minute I saw like all these unnamed guys who were African. Like, as soon as they joined the team, I was like, damn, plot. If there's any superpower I could ever have, plot armor is the power I want.
Yeah.
Because what in the world are we doing? And how could this have been such an oversight? Um, yeah, what a mess. I also, to kind of go back to Mr. Heron, who was Babs Alusan Mokun's character. To your point earlier, Jose, I did want to see so much more from him,
Yeah.
where like he plants the one, the bomb to like cause the light to go out or whatever, and then gets caught, and I'm like, oh, this is the moment where I get to see some creativity happen, because he is not a warrior. He's not a fighter in that way. Yeah, he's like a trained spy, but like I'm gonna have to see him not take three guys, like weasel his way out of fighting three guys at the same time. And he just has a gun and he's okay. Like
Yeah.
it
And
it
when his
needed
gun
to be
jams,
more dynamic.
when his gun jams, the Nazi like
Mm-hmm.
commander, the longest struggle for a gun in the history
Mhm.
of any movie. Just like he spent 30 seconds trying to get this thing out of there.
No, because Issa's character and Bab's character, they're supposed to be like top tier spies, and they're supposed to be like the masters in their own sort of like deception or like pre-planning or just like be so well connected. So yeah, like you got to see a glimpse of it when they were on the train and how they sort of kind of like work
Yeah.
together. But that's like the only time they work together, and they're not doing anything like too intense. They're just stealing a briefcase.
Yeah.
So again, give me more or just like give me less.
And I could have enjoyed more of her in the when she's dolled up, like when she goes to that party as Cleopatra, and then like has that performance in that gorgeous silver gown. um I could have stood for more of her, like maybe as she's wowing everybody, like we just see how much of like the, not sleight of hand, but like maybe is it like getting keys, or is it moving
Mm-hmm.
this person, or like strategically getting this guard to be in this spot so that whatever else can happen, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it just seemed to be a cool thing she did real quick.
Yeah. I will say though, the villain, the big bad Nazi, is probably one of the more intimidating characters, because there are scenes where I'm like, oh man, this guy's just not some Nazi dude. This guy's like the top guy.
Good villain.
Um,
Yeah.
This
yeah,
is the
like
commandant for
when he
real.
catches
Yeah.
when he catches on that like she said something in Yiddish and not German, and everything just kind of shifts. Like that scene was great, but it still suffers from that, like, okay, well then give me more of him being like this big bad guy, because it seems like yeah, when he walks away from beating that other woman, you're kind of seeing that he's obviously this really horrible person. But when Marjorie shows up, when Elisa shows up, it's just kind of like, oh, now he's like a dumb man following after like this pretty woman, but he's supposed to be this this top of the top Nazi guy who's this big bad, who's just not gonna fall for any of that.
Yeah, the riddle stuff was kind of cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is what like 1941 flirting was. It's like, okay.
The riddles. Let me
Yeah.
crack open my pops riddles 1 through 100.
Yeah. I don't know. It was
Oh, also, and this is like really could have been in the non-spoilery stuff. Shout out to Alex Pettifer. I haven't seen bro since like I Am Number 4. Wait, am I looking at this right? Oh yeah, that was just like a much earlier.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
apparently
am
he's
number
been
four.
doing
Damn.
stuff. And I guess he was in Magic Mike. Oh yeah, he was, which was the next year. So yeah, I haven't seen this man in like 12 years.
Oh my god, he was Alex Rider in
In what?
Stormbreaker. I read the they were like these like movies when I was in these books when I was in middle school, and they adapted one of them into a movie, which I don't think was very good. But no, it was just like that was crazy to see that's who he was.
He was In Time with Justin Timberlake. Shout out to that movie.
Dang,
Wow.
all time great premise, not great
Horrible
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Execution's always the trickiest part.
But yeah, I don't really know if there's much else to say. It's a fun movie. It's an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. My brother did wonder if they're setting up like an Avengers style sequel or just like a sequel in general, just like the way
They
it kind of
definitely
leaves
planted the
off.
seed.
But then that leaves the question: is it another based on a true story kind of thing, or is it just now they're just gonna have fun and this is now just a franchise that these people are in? Because I'm all for them just having more fun on set if they can fix a lot of these issues with this one. Um, but if they get sent off to like Soviet Russia now that the World War II is over to go destroy some train depot or whatever, or if they just keep it going with like the historical adjacencies, just keep it historically adjacent to what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I for the most part I'm good. Like this was great fun. Wish the stakes were a little bit higher. Wish the heist, the wish their ability to think on their feet like got a chance to be showcased a lot more. Um, I'm yeah, I'd probably watch another film with these characters in it. I don't need it.
Yeah, if it makes money, I'm about it. Yeah, just because they're all charismatic. But it to me, in a way, it felt like a tryout for Henry Cavill to be James Bond. Um, and that was
Ooh.
the bit. So Ian Fleming, who's the like assistant, is the author of the James Bond
Oh,
movies, and they even say at the end was that Henry Cavill's character was what Ian Fleming based James Bond on. So it felt very, and he's a womanizer because he marries the Marjorie character in real life, and they only like have a few scenes where you wouldn't really know. It's just like there's a couple random scenes where this guy is like weirdly infatuated with Marjorie's safety, and then it's just like they look at each other once in the movie, and then I was like, oh, they married at the end. So like that was
yeah.
just like weird. But it was that part to me. I was like, oh, this is kind of him trying out for this role, which I would personally. I think Henry Cavill, justice for Henry Cavill for what's happened with Superman, for what's happened with The Witcher. I
Yeah.
really feel for him.
No, bring him in a Fast and Furious, dude. Let him have fun.
Oh my fucking god, no!
No,
What do you
Jason,
mean
dude.
no?
Give him his own franchise. Don't have him just be in one of these movies.
Don't
Let
don't
him
have
be
him
a
be a part
leading
let
of
man.
family? Why are you so
let him
against
have
family,
fun.
bro?
Let him have fun. That's what I'm saying.
He
He had
had
so
he
much
had
fun filming this. Jason Momoa had so much fun filming Fast X. Henry Cavill had so much fun filming this movie. Just let them have fun. Just let them be goofy.
he needs movies that are going to make like a ton of money, and I think that the Fast franchise, to be honest, it's on the downhill. It is on the downhill. That is a little bit of a toxic like
So okay, so it made 900 mil and not 1.1 bill. Like, what are we saying?
it only made 700 million on a budget of 350, and that's not counting marketing. There's a decent chance that that movie barely broke even. I'm just saying. Like the Fast franchise right now does not have the same pull that it once had. And I want Henry Cavill's already been involved in some toxic stuff, like stuff that has not gone well.
Wait, what?
The
Fix your mouth.
Witcher,
What
a
do
Friends?
you?
disaster. Okay, fine. The Witcher is not like he had to leave The Witcher because of the issues that he was having with the
Right. I'm not.
creative.
I'm not
And
challenging the
then
stuff he's experienced. I'm saying you're calling the Fast franchise, a toxic franchise.
that the movies are making less money, and they're not doing as well. Like I'm sorry, those are numbers. That is not those like that's
But to call
not.
it toxic, I
No,
mean,
it's
like
not.
low
It's
performing
not
and toxic
toxic.
are two different
No, no, no,
things.
no.
I wasn't saying
They're
that specifically. The Fast and Furious franchise is,
But that's
but
what
like
we're
the
talking about. We're
movies.
talking about Henry Cavill being in Fast 12.
he's got to be in Fast X 2.
Okay.
Zodiac Shift or something. I don't know. Like put to make 12 work in there somehow.
Mm. It'll be Fast XX, and then the next one would be Fast Triple X, and it's a tie-in to the Triple X with Vin Diesel.
I'm sold. Dylan, you're so deflated.
It'll make $1 billion.
I'm also just exhausted. Drove home from Santa Barbara today, so I'm just like tired.
I drove from LA today, and I'm having a great time.
Okay.
I was
Good
like,
for
I'm
you.
waiting for it.
I don't have the same endurance. Don't know what to tell you.
To be fair though, yes, I get it. Like he should be able to get on at the ground floor of a great thing and not necessarily come in so late in the game with some other things.
Also,
and the things he was on the ground floor of were terrible.
If you're saying he shouldn't be involved in a toxic franchise, I think James Bond is a toxic franchise. I don't think they'll let him.
It's a reboot.
But I don't think they'll let him have as much fun as he did in this one. I think it'll be more along the lines of like a Mission Impossible type of Henry Cavill, where he's like semi-serious, semi-badass.
I mean,
like
Mission Impossible movies are a blast. Mission Impossible movies are fun as hell. They're silly, they're goofy. Like the Mission Impossible movies are fun. And he was great in Mission Impossible, by the way. He's in the best Mission Impossible movie. Just to put it out there. His character isn't necessarily fun or funny for the most part.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like James Bond isn't a fun guy. He's like a spy, and he's supposed to be like this suave, you said womanizer, just kind of like knows his way. Like when you picture James Bond, you don't think Henry Cavill in this role. Like yes, he could do it, but I don't know if you'll necessarily enjoy doing it as much as he probably enjoyed making this.
I think any British action star would absolutely kill to be James Bond. And Daniel Craig's James Bond at times, think of the Lashif scene when Lashif is like spinning the rope and he's like, oh, if you really want to hit me in the nuts, you have to go like 2 inches more over to the left. Like there's like bits of it. It might not be necessarily like as like over the top as this, but like I'm gonna be honest, I think if Henry Cavill had the option between Fast and Furious and James Bond, like I don't even think it's not even a choice. It's like it's not even a decision.
Hey, if I can have Aquaman and Superman being Fast and Furious, I don't know.
You're making some strong points here. I hear both of you out. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a good point. Oh no, that makes a good point. Oh wait.
I also am personally on the side of giving James Bond to Idris Elba. I think he would probably be more like, I think as a serious action English spy, I think he'd probably be great. He's amazing that happened, in Phantom Liberty, by the way. The Cyberpunk DLC, he is amazing in that.
I think he's too old at this point, though. That's the main thing.
Idris Elba?
Yeah.
How old is he?
I think he's like in his 50s, if not.
I think well into his 50s.
51.
It's 51.
On his 50s. Got it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And I think he said too that like he doesn't want to do it after like everything that happened and like that he's too street, which is like the dumbest thing you could say about Idris Elba. But when
he did that good on The Wire.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's 40.
So I think if you were to do 3 movies over a period of 10 years, that's a hell of a lot easier than a 50-year-old doing 3 movies as they're going into 60.
Harrison Ford
looks terrible in all of those movies. And they spent $300 million more than that on that last movie.
Stop making sense, Dylan. Gosh.
Let us know if you want Henry Cavill in as James Bond or Fast and Furious? Let us know.
One or the other. You have to pick one.
I'm
And you
down
can't
for
abstain.
both.
Every single person listening, you'll be forced to make a decision before closing out of the podcast app.
It will brick your phone if you do not answer. Well, gents, anything left to say about this ministry?
7 out of 10.
8. Oof.
Ooh.
7?
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
And I'm sitting at a 7 as well.
I'm gonna say 6. That's being generous.
Nazi sympathizer. Interesting. Okay. Anyways, so
Yo. Yeah, and then grading wise, I'd say because everybody worked well in their group, you guys can get a B, and I can bump that up to a B plus if we raise the stakes throughout. And we could even consider A minus if you throw more of that heist element and let people have to figure things out more.
yeah, I'm gonna grade this guy on a curve because this movie knows what it is, and I'm gonna put it at like a B minus. I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again, but like if I'm on an airplane and I can't figure out something I gotta do and I gotta watch this, I will enjoy myself. So yeah. Don't regret my time going to the movies. B minus.
I don't regret my time either, but this is more of a C. Hey, you did the assignment. Good job, kid.
Give me
Fantastic.
Thad Castle in a Swedish accent for 100 movies.
Who's a what?
Oh, did you never watch Blue Mountain State?
No.
That was Alan Richardson's first like role.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
confirms it. Perfect.
Hey, shout out to Laser Team. I was looking through his movie. R.I.P. Rooster Teeth. If y'all know Rooster Teeth, R.I.P. Rooster Teeth. They made a movie called Laser Team. Alan Richardson was in it. That's my 2 cents.
Shout out Red versus
Alright.
Blue.
R.I.P.
Oh yeah, man. He was Raphael.
I guess.
That's
Damn.
dope.
What a crazy come up for him. I felt like he hadn't done anything, and now he's like the biggest action star. I'm happy for him.
He deserves it.
All right, is that the pod?
Feeling good.
All right, y'all. Class dismissed.